Hello and welcome to this HMS Academy presentation on the subject of our Talk2M cloud. Today we're focusing our attention on the differences between the free account and the pro subscription account. My name is Siobhan Chapman and I will host this webinar today with my colleague Sepp Schraven presenting. Before we start, I just want to point out the Q&A box which should be visible on the right of your screen. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them here and Sepp and I will try to answer as many as we can at the end of the session. If we don't have time to answer all your questions, a follow-up email will give you a link to the recording of today's session, plus answers to all the questions asked. On the left of your screen is a box with some helpful links to more information that you might like to follow up after the presentation. And there is a survey in the links box at the bottom of your screen. We would appreciate answers to that one as well. And if the screen is a little small, you can always expand the presentation to full screen using the control in the top right-hand corner. Now, I will start with an introduction on HMS as a company and the products we use in our IIoT solutions. HMS Networks has been around for over 30 years now, and we have offices globally supplying customers with solutions for industrial communications. And increasingly these days, that means the industrial Internet of Things. We can boast more than 7 million products installed and connected worldwide. Most major manufacturing sites will have at least one HMS Networks solution connecting a device, a machine or a system, whether that is a local connection to a control system or a connection sending data and analytics to a cloud-based solution. HMS Networks can offer the means to connect. Connecting devices is our mission and our tagline, and we offer solutions to do that under 5 brand names now. Anybus was where it all started, and these are the core of our solutions, where devices and machines get connected to industrial networks and IT systems with or without wires. The E1 remote solutions enable access to machines and their data for monitoring and control over the web. The Intersys portfolio provides gateways for building automation, including remote control of air conditioning systems. ICSAT products enable communication in machines, especially in the areas of functional safety, automotive testing and the smart grid. And Web Factory offers software solutions to connect equipment with the digital world. And we also offer our own cloud solutions, Argos, Talk2M and HMS Hub. Now, I will hand over to Sepp to present our subject for today.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Siobhan. I'm Sepp Schraven and working as a technical support engineer from our Benelux office. In this webinar, we will start with an explanation of Talk2M as a cloud service. Then we will look into the main differences between the free and the pro version of a Talk2M cloud. And actually, this webinar came up after quite some direct requests from our customers. It will be a little shorter in duration than the others, but that gives us more time for the questions. I also want to give you the opportunity to try the Pro version 3 months for free in the end, but let's come to that a little later. So, to start, let's first have a look at what is Talk2M. Talk2M is the cloud that makes our E1 Cozy and Flexi products as powerful as those are today. I think that Talk2M is actually the most valuable part of those E1 routers. With Talk2M, we make remote access and remote data easy and secure, but I will come to that in a few seconds. This image shows a picture of all connected routers to our Talk2M cloud, which are 300,000 in total. These routers are connected to our 30 worldwide fully redundant servers. We did not only shape the entire world, but we are also currently the biggest IIoT network in the world. And of course, that's some achievement that we are really proud of at HMS. I also want to quickly stand still at the right bottom corner. There you see that we are ISO 27001 certified, which proves that we handle information security processes accordingly. So, now you have an understanding of what Talk2M is. Let's have a look at what Talk2M does. And actually, we divide it into 2 different things. The first one is remote access. The Talk2M cloud is invented and designed many years ago for easily remote access your industrial equipment. Nowadays, this can be done via several ways. On the image, you see a schematical overview of how remote access works via the Talk2M cloud. On the left side, you find your remote location, being possibly thousands of kilometers away. Here, an E1 is connected to your machine network, including a PLC and an HMI in this case. On the right side, you see the different access possibilities we offer. First, start with eCatcher. eCatcher is the VPN client and also the main VPN configuration tool. Here you have fully control and you are being able to control everything. Second, eCatcher Mobile. eCatcher Mobile is a mobile application to remotely monitor your installations on your mobile phone. At last, we see M2App. M2App is a web-based monitoring platform which allows you to monitor equipment as configured in eCatcher. This M2App access is typically provided by the system integrator to the end user. When we have a closer look at how remote access works, we see that all connections come together in a Talk2M cloud using outgoing VPN connections only. This has a big advantage when setting up E1 devices at remote locations. Where incoming connections will be blocked by the firewall, these outgoing connections are normally allowed. When the user at my company on the left side wants to connect to an E1, in this example the E1 at machine A, the connection is simply built in the cloud, which makes it possible to communicate and being part of the machine network. Then, when the same user wants to connect to machine B, it first needs to close the connection with machine A before the connection with machine B can be made. Of course, this is the same with machine C. So, as I already said, only outgoing connections are used when setting up a connection to our Talk2M cloud. So our connections will not be blocked, which makes it what we call an IT-friendly solution. Of course, we know that there are exceptions, especially when a company has a strict IT department. In that case, please go to our support webpage where we have listed a document with all ports and addresses used by our connections. If you cannot find it yourself, please contact us via the support portal. So, now we have seen remote access. Then, secondly, let's have a look at what we call remote data as the second main Talk2M feature. So, where it all started with remote access, E1 added the possibility to use the same infrastructure, in other words, the VPN connection, to remotely retrieve your data. This makes it a scalable solution and very easy to set the next step into your IIoT journey. With the VPN connection from the remote location on the left to the Talk2M cloud, it's possible to store your data for a limited period of time to eventually move it to your IoT application on the right side. This can be a cloud platform or a local database with some visualization layers on top. The biggest advantage is that setting it up is a matter of minutes and you can transfer big amounts of data for free, but we will come to that a little later. This data transferring mechanism is called the data mailbox. Next to our data mailbox, our E1 routers also support direct connections as MQTT and HTTPS. So now, let's have a little closer look at how the data mailbox works. The E1s on the left side push the data from the machine network to a Talk2M data mailbox using the same VPN connection as we use for remote access. No worries, pushing data and connect remotely can be done at the same time. The data mailbox acts as a temporary buffer where it collects and buffers data from multiple flexes in the JSON data format. This buffer goes to a maximum of 10 days. From your application, you can use a secure HTTPS call to retrieve your data into your database and analyze it, make reports and save it securely. So the data mailbox is not the end location of the data, but it's put there in an easy and ready to use format for any IoT application based in the cloud or locally. So we have seen that VPN connections are absolutely key for everything in the Talk2M cloud. So let's have a little closer look at these VPN connections. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network and can be used to tunnel into a remote network. At our Talk2M solution, we use the Open VPN protocol because it has many advantages. I will list 3 of them. It can be used on both UDP and TCP. OpenVPN securely tunnel all remote connections through a single TCP or UDP connection. OpenVPN is specially dedicated to pass through firewalls and routers because the messages looks very similar to normal packages. So, because we received a lot of questions about the differences between the Talk2M Free and the Talk2M Pro accounts, we decided to explain this some further. We will spend some time to see the differences between the Free and the Pro version with most important Talk2M features. So, before we start and jump into the details, I just want to address what are in our experience typical cases for a Free and a Pro account. At the typical Talk2M Free accounts, we see mainly starting E1 customers with less than 10 E1 devices in the field. Those are most of the time small companies who are an end user or at least only have devices from themselves or one other company. Also, the account is typically operated by one or a few people. Then, when we take a look at the typical Pro user, we see in general a couple of years E1 experience with, let's say, above 15 devices in the field. Also, the focus on security increased in many ways, and the devices of more than one company are installed in the account. This makes the chance increase that the account user also has SLA responsibilities to his customer. Think of a system integrator who is the administrator of the E1s because he has a service level agreement to his customers with their installations. So, now we have seen the typical cases. I want to list some specs between the different versions that will not need much of explanation. Let's start with the service level agreement. At the Free account, no service level agreement is defined from our side. At the Talk2M Pro account, we guarantee a 99.6% uptime from our servers. This agreement can be made because our Talk2M Pro accounts operate via different servers. Then Concurrent Connections. At a Talk2M Free account, only one user can actually build a VPN connection within the same account at the same time. At a Talk2M Pro account, this starts with the 3 concurrent connections and can also be upgraded into more. Please note, concurrent connections is different than users. In both accounts, an unlimited amount of users can be created. Then the next one, bandwidth. With a Talk2M Free account, a maximum of 3 GB can be transferred over our servers monthly. This changed lately and used to be 1 GB in the past. At a Talk2M Pro account, this is a maximum of 9 GB a month, which used to be 6. At a Free account, there cannot be bought any additional bandwidth. You will receive notifications when you exceed the limits, and HMS will share tips to decrease the usage. At a Talk2M Pro account, when you extend the numbers, you pay €4 per extra gigabyte from the credit in your account. Then a new one. Data points in the data mailbox. Since October, new rules applied for the usage of the data mailbox. We have been through an early adapters test phase and now the data mailbox is officially launched. This includes the new price plan. For the users in a free account, 5 million data points can be used. For the pro users, 10 million data points can be used. Again, at a free account, there cannot be bought any additional data points. You will receive notifications when you exceed the limits, and HMS will again share tips to decrease the usage. At a pro account, when you extend the numbers, €4 per extra million data points will be charged from the credit in your account. Then the last one, SMS. If you would like to send an SMS over a service, so without a SIM card, that's possible. At a free account, 30 cents will be charged per SMS. At a Talk2M Pro account, you have a free 50 SMSs per month. After that, 15 cents will be charged per SMS. To come back to the data and data mailbox usage, in the last version of eCatcher, we included a new table which can be found under the Account tab by Credit and Payment. Here you can clearly monitor both the usage of your bandwidth and the amount of data points transferred over the Talk2M cloud. This makes your monthly usage visible to help you not extend the limits without knowing it. Next to that, your data usage and data points usage are shown in the bottom line in the new eCatcher. Above 80% of your monthly usage, your numbers will turn yellow, while above 100% of your monthly usage, your numbers will turn red. Then, take a look at the different password policies. I'm not sure if the letters are big enough so you can read it, but I will go through as well. At the free version, you can choose from 2 policies. At the standard security policy, you have a minimum of 8 characters, at least 1 letter, and at least 1 digit or special character. For the enforced security, you have a minimum of 8 characters, at least 1 letter, at least 1 digit, and at least a special character. For both, the two-factor authentication can be enabled. At the Pro account, the password policy can be created as you like with the same specifications. But here also can be chosen to expire a password, and you have the opportunity to force users to set an amount of successive different passwords. Of course, at the Pro account, also two-factor authentication can be enabled. Going forward on security, there is also a difference for the free and Pro account in the Vpn Firewall. Within Talk2M, it's possible to set a level of firewall for all VPN traffic. This makes it possible to control the access in the remote network. However, the firewall will not be applied locally. By default, all devices on the LAN subnet can be reached. With the eCatcher firewall, you can limit the access to devices in a remote subnet. Talk2M Free offers 2 levels of firewall, while the Pro account has another 2 layers on top of that. We will take a look at the differences in the next couple of slides. The first level of firewall is called Standard, which is also the default setting when an E1 is set up to the Talk2M cloud. This level of firewall can both in a free and in a Pro account be selected. With this standard level, you will see an open padlock just below the E1 you are connected to. Beside the open padlock, you will see the IP address of the E1 device over the LAN side. Behind the IP address, the subnet is notated. In this case, a subnet of 255 is used, which is notated as /24. The open padlock indicates that the whole LAN network can be reached behind the E1 by this connected user. So any user that connects with eCatcher to the E1 device is able to reach all LAN devices. In this case, the user can connect to the SCADA at 61 and the PLCs on 62 and 63. The second level of firewall is called High and can also both on a free and a Pro account be selected. Within the High settings, only LAN devices can be reached that are defined by name and IP address. So when the user connects to the E1 in this case, the padlock just below the connected E1 is closed. Here can be seen that the LAN network behind the E1 is closed except for the defined devices. So in this case, the connected user can communicate with the PLC on 62 and the machine on 63, but the SCADA on 61 is not defined and therefore communication is not possible anymore over the VPN connection. These restrictions are not applied locally, but will only go over the VPN. When the connected user pings the 61 IP address in this case, there will be no response. Then, within the same high firewall level, there is also the possibility to set communication over one specific port only. When this is applied, the communication can only be established over that specific port. So now the communication to the PLC can only be established over this specified U5001 port. The communication to the HMI can just normal be established at the 63 IP address. The next level of firewall is called enforced, and this is the first level that is not available anymore in the free account. In this enforced firewall level, there is an option to set firewall regarding gateways in the network. Below the connected device, another padlock appeared for gateways. Only communication to gateways in the LAN network can be established when the gateway is added into the Talk2M cloud. In this case, a Modbus gateway is added. So, in this case, there cannot be communicated via a gateway in the LAN network over the VPN except the declared Modbus gateway. And then we have the fourth and the last firewall level, which is called Ultra. In many ways, this is the same as the enforced firewall level, but now also the E1 services can be firewalled. So previously, the LAN devices and LAN gateways were already restricted to the firewall level. This now also applies for the HTTP, FTP, and SNMP services, such as browsing the E1's own webpage. The Pro account has another big advantage next to the extra general firewall levels. It can select if the selected firewall goes for all users or only for a few selected. So by default, the settings go for all users that have access to the device, but here can also be made a choice to, for example, only allow administrators to enter a system, and I will take the example of a SCADA system. So with the SCADA example, it will look like this image. Here the connected users will only have access to the PLC and the HMI and only see those two. But the administrator will also see the SCADA and will be able to communicate with the SCADA as well. Then I want to highlight the user rights and especially the differences in user rights when we compare a free and a pro account. The difference in user rights may be the most important reason to switch to a Talk2M Pro account for a lot of Talk2M users, and I will show you why. So let's start with the user rights in a free account. Here you can create two kinds of users. This includes a user and an administrator. The user can access an E1 via M2App and build a VPN via eCatcher. Next to that, the user has no rights to add, modify or delete anything regarding an E1 or a user. Of course, the eCatcher administrator can do all of this in the account. Next to that, only the administrator can see relevant account information and reports. One last thing that I want to mention and cannot be seen straight from this table is that in a free account, it is not possible to make a difference in what E1s can be seen by which user. Going forward on that, let's have a look at the user and permissions in the Talk2M Pro account. And actually the first thing we see is that two submenus appear. These are called pools and groups. And basically, a pool is a bunch of E1 devices, while a group is a bunch of people. In the next couple of slides, I will explain how the users and pools submenus are used within Talk2M. So first, let's take a look at the pools. The pools are just simple groups of E1 devices that for some reason belong to each other as a group. In this case, I've made two examples. The first one is a group of E1s belonging to the geographical place of a company, in this case HMS Benelux. In the second example, you see a pool where E1s are grouped belonging to a customer. Besides grouping them, there are no other rights or permissions in the device groups. That we will see in the next couple of slides for the users. So, the first thing we see here is that on a single user level, no much rights can be selected or given. Here only can be chosen to make a name public if it may edit its own properties and if it may change the own password. Next to that, the group must be chosen that the user belongs to. Then, on the user group level, we see some more rights. Here must be chosen if the group as a whole can send SMS and email, create device pools, create user groups, and here can also be chosen if the user group is the administrator of another group. In my example, there is no group chosen to be the administrator of. Then, if we add a pool, for each pool must be selected what user rights the user group have to that pool. The minimum rights is permission to connect to E1s via M2Web, which is our monitoring platform. I will not go into detail about M2Web in this webinar, but it's mainly used by our customers to give their customers only viewing internet-based logins to the machines. This will not take one of your concurrent connections and your customer can see all he needs. The next permission is to connect using eCatcher, which builds, different than with M2Web, a real VPN connection, and therefore the user becomes a part of the network. The next level is to modify E1s in a pool, and the last one is to become a full administrator and be able to not only modify existing E1s, but also add and remove E1s. So, let's take a schematically example of what I just told. At the left, you see the different groups of E1 devices. Those are the pools, as we call them, with a number of E1s inside. A single E1 device can be in multiple pools at the same time. Then, above, you see the user groups. These groups contain users and the number of group rights. Also here, users can belong to multiple groups at the same time. These groups can be linked to the pools according to your own use case. In this example, let's say user group 1 has some kind of administrator role to all the E1 pools. User group 2 only has to deal with pool 2, and user group 3 only has to deal with device pool 3. Via this way of connecting user groups and pools with each other, all possible connections and user rights and device pools can be made. So, going forward on the same example, we can assume a kind of situation as showed here, where user group 1 is for instance a system integrator, user group 2 can in this case be the first customer of the system integrator, and user group 3 is the second customer in this case. What is not mentioned in this schematically table is the rights between the crosses. As explained in earlier slides, is that you can also give a user group rights to a device pool in mean of change, add or delete E1s. From this setup, I can say that we never had a situation where we could not arrange the user rights in a way that fits everyone. So, before we go to the last section in terms of how to upgrade, I just want to wrap up on what we saw today and what are the most important differences for our customers. So, the first thing is the concurrent connections. Of course, as soon as the number of E1s grow in the account, the chance that multiple users must connect to devices at the same time increases as well. What I did not mention before is that the number of M2App and eCacher mobile connections also increases from 5 to unlimited with the Pro account. The second one is security. Especially when a company starts using E1 and eCacher more often, the question arises to make it all more secure. The Pro account will give more possibilities here to fit the needs. Then we take a look at the data usage, which is different. In a Pro account, more monthly bandwidth can be used and the amount of data points that can be transferred over the Talk2M data mailbox is much higher. In both cases, you can use more at the Pro account, and also only at the Pro account it's possible to pay when you want to extend these numbers. The last one is the user management. When more E1s come into the account, the needs for different user rights grows, especially when E1s from more than one company enter the account. Full control and user management is needed directly. Then, just before I want to give everyone the opportunity to sign up for the Pro trial subscription, I want to quickly go through how you need to upgrade your free account to a Pro account. This basically because we received a lot of questions about it. To upgrade your existing free account into a Pro version, 3 steps need to be followed. First, sign in into your free account. Click account on your left hand side and scroll down to credit and payment. Here you can click the link, learn about Talk2M Pro and agree with the terms of usage. Finally, you can click request Talk2M Pro. You will receive a confirmation email from your Pro request and please forward this email, including a purchase number, to your distributor or HMS sales representative. Then the order will be placed and your account will be updated in 3 to a maximum of 5 working days. Then I want to highlight a very common situation where we see companies who have multiple free accounts before the decision is made to go for a single Pro account. For this, we invented the wizard import all E1s from another account. This wizard allows you to import all E1s from a free account into your Pro account and saves you a lot of time. Of course, you need to insert the administrator details of your free account or accounts, and then you're able to import all E1s in once. So now it's time to sign up for the 3 months Talk2M Pro trial for free. Just to make sure it will stop automatically after 3 months. Unless you let us know that you want to extend the Pro subscription. For everyone who is listening in live, after this slide, a poll will be shown where you can submit your request. You will be contacted by your sales representative afterwards. For everyone listening in on demand, please don't respond to the poll because your answer will not be seen. You can follow the steps I showed in the previous slide and let your distributor or HMS sales representative know that you want the 3 months trial instead of the real Pro subscription.